And also I went to Egypt like a month ago and for a couple of weeks and got an education there and learning about how what I'm going to say sort of like was part of it was learned over there or experienced, but this patriarchy that essentially what I feel like happened was, in my opinion, back in the Egyptian days, you'll go and we'll look at all these temples and pyramids, but really the temples are where everything has the writing and the hieroglyphs. And the stories all included a triad, which is a man, a woman, and a child. And then essentially like it became the Trinity, Holy Trinity. And then women were gone and the Romans came in and their religion. And God, I know religion is so deep for you and goes back all the way to childhood. What cradle, were you Catholic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cradle Catholic.
Yeah.
So, and it feels like the Romans came in and all this, they chipped all the faces off of everything in Egypt, like all the beautiful, walls and everything, they chipped the faces off. And I'm like, holy crap. It feels like that's kind of when the patriarchy really like went upswing and, women were sort of taken out of the equation for everything.
Everything was not only revised, but, all the men were writing it to suit their own vision.
And ego and purpose. Yeah.
And I mean, even the pervasive message that there is such thing as better than, worse than, whether it's gender or, that beautiful book Caste. The idea that there's better or worse is just pretty comical. Doesn't mean you're not faster. You're a faster runner or driver, or doesn't mean we don't have different capacities. It just means the value, our value is equal. I mean, that's patriarchy is completely anathema to the idea of egalitarianism. It's so violent. Really, Alanis, it's violent patriarchy. Tell me more about that.
Well, it feels like it's operating out of the ego so much more. Like a woman just like, I've heard it a lot lately, but then every now and again, there'll be a man that will reflect it back and they'll be like, women just can do more. You just have more love. You just have more, like, you're just more of things. And at the core of it, though, just, creating and creating life and have just more love inside. And it's not that a man can't love, but women just kind of lead with the heart a little bit more. And so if like on the sort of like heels of you talking about how you school your children and how you teach them, it's like you're teaching them how to love themselves too. Like, and if we can shift from more of a patriarchal sort of mindset of like fit in the box, do this thing, get it done, right? Like there's so much rigidity to it. And women leading are going to come from that heart space of like love and compassion and softness and honoring yourself and how you're feeling and how you're doing that day and letting the day lead you, as opposed to following this like highly
doctrine,
rigid curriculum where you start to have to detune and detach from yourself and your body and how you're actually feeling in order to operate. Like,
I know.
I think there's such detachment. And I think that part of what we're moving into, and I'm curious if you think so, is into this space where we're learning how to, because how do we know what to trust? Do we trust the news? No. Do we trust the newspapers? No. Do we trust even documentaries? No. Who the heck paid for it, right? Like what's propaganda? Like we don't even know what to trust anymore. Nice. And the only gauge we're going to learn the one that we need to learn how to use is our body to give us the information.
And it does.
And I think that only comes through being able to tap into that sort of the femininity within you. And that's just, that's woman.
Yeah. And feminine, even in man bodies and non-gender identifying bodies too. It's like the feminine is what has been murdered by patriarchy, right?
Yeah. Kind of the divine feminine. Obviously I'm not trying to, it's like the femininity, the divine feminine versus
within all of us. So yes, the easiest and quickest path to shifty patriarchy is to just start by being respectful to women, period. Let's just start there. And then beyond that, it's also just honoring the vulnerable, honoring the water of it all, But I think what's happened now with how much stimulation there is in the world, depending upon our temperament, there's it just gets too much in here. Like I think we can do 100 things, and now it just feels like there's 300 things. So, and that's just me personally. So I like I like that we have the capacity to multitask. And my projection is to be careful with that because then life can sometimes take advantage of it, and patriarchy definitely will take advantage of it. It'll just say, give us everything you got and we'll take it and see you later. So, but I think, this is a really great time to be alive as a woman. And what I'm really keeping my eye on in my own personal world, among many other things, is the cluttering, because if I'm going to go meditate, there's Peter Levine talks about, I think he calls it meditation-induced anxiety or something like that. So those of us who go to meditate, it's not, basically the point is that with certain trauma, meditating is not going to actually help. Because then we're left alone with these thoughts or these ruminations or these tapes that play. So sometimes meditating alone is actually not the way to go. It depends on where we're at, I guess. I feel like I just went off on a great tangent.
No, it's all just it's the exploration, right? It's trying to figure it out. It's trying to figure out what you need, and I think that you do a really good job of that. And I think it's really cool that you teach your kids. I'm so fascinated by all that. And then, like what we were talking about with, multiple intelligence. I mean, can you imagine if our world stepped into a space where we all learned what our intelligence was instead of having to fit into a box? Like, I believe, being biological beings, that there is a natural balance. Not only is there a natural fix for everything that is wrong with us in nature, but also that we are nature and that we balance each other. And so imagine the beauty if we could all just kind of contribute what we were good at and passionate about. Usually we're passionate about things we're good at. And how I trust that there would be a balance in existence if we all just contributed what was our natural intelligence.
I really completely agree with that.